Update on the race from the 17th, this last Saturday. Finally got some issues figured out on my car from the first race of the season. We missed the second race because we were out of town. We went down south to find some car parts, visit some family, and ride some roller coasters. Before that, I put some work into my car to get us ready for a race that got rained out. And if anyone remembers from my first update video from this season, this thing was falling on its face by the end of the feature, and my fuel pump was having a bad time. I had forgotten that years ago I had drilled the bucket on the fuel pump in this thing so that it would let some fuel in, because I had a non-siphon style pump in there and it wasn't working out. So I replaced that, and I ended up rebuilding this transmission pretty much. I put a whole nother gear cluster in it with first and second gear, had better synchros on it, better teeth on them, and now I was able to grab second gear real nice. No more grinds. It's not blocking me out of second gear. It is really notchy, but it goes into second, so that's a huge improvement. And the engine runs strong. When we got there, we did our qualifying. I set the third fastest lap, which this doesn't necessarily mean anything because the track changes so much throughout the night. But the car felt really strong when I went out there for the qualifier. And Alex and I ended up in the same heat. It was heat number 3. We started side by side in the second row, and Jesse took off, and it was Jesse, Alex, and I pretty much racing most of that heat race. And there was some point where I ended up moving down to the bottom line again, which I was trying to stop doing because, as we all know, that first race I ripped the front of my car apart on a tractor tire. But stuck it back down to the bottom line and managed to sneak past Alex, and I ended up finishing second in the heat. That put me in the redraw, and I ended up drawing third, which started me second row inside in the feature. And I gotta say, there were a lot of fast cars there. I'd say anyone in the top 12 cars out in that field in the feature could have won that race. All very, very fast cars. I will also say that that track was very dry slick. I mean, it was glossy. There were 2 really heavy lanes. The highest line on that track was a little bit rough, a little chunky up there still. Watched a couple cars try and throw it up there, and it just slowed them down, or it threw them all over the place. So it was a very interesting track. When the track gets real dry slick like that, it becomes an equalizer for all the guys that have a whole lot of horsepower or torque and the guys that have pretty stock engines. It gives those stock engine guys a huge advantage. I was out there in that feature, and I started out okay, but I could not find a good line to stay consistent with everyone. And I would try it up high, and I would try it down low, and I would just fall back further and further and further. And my car would just spin the tires a lot. Coming off the corners in particular, I would just blow the tires off, and sometimes I'd be at the limiter before the next corner even, or the car would be skating left and right. There was one point where I left turn 2 way high, and all of a sudden my car just darted left, and it's right when Jacob happened to be passing me on the bottom side, and I drove right into the side of him, bounced off, and that kind of shook me, and so I started falling off then. Kind of collected myself, and Alex ended up doing pretty much the same thing at one point. He left turn 2 real high in front of Jacob, and then lost it, went all the way down track, but kept it together. I just started losing positions throughout that feature. Car was running great, but I just didn't have the setup quite right, and I'm just not very good for driving that dry slick stuff. It's a concept I've yet to learn. We'll get there eventually. But Alex was doing pretty good. He likes driving in the dry slick. This is the most horsepower Alex's car has had yet. And he's got a little 2.2 and has a little bit less torque than my 2.4 does. But he's able to wind that thing out. And he was doing pretty good until his car just randomly popped itself into neutral. I have no explanation for why. It didn't get hit. Wasn't like a big pothole or nothing. Just popped out of gear. And he slowed down and kind of went into the infield and then jammed it back in gear and then drove right back around me again. He would have had a real good finishing point or finishing spot if that wouldn't have happened. But it is what it is. He ended up finishing 9th and I finished 11th. Just I kind of gave up on any real points and just focused on keeping my car together and off of other cars because it was becoming a real handful to control when I would stay in the throttle. But yeah, not terrible considering all the fast cars that were there. It was a good race. Watching Cordell and Landon battle it out for the lead was a real good race to watch. Cordell, I think it was like the second lap, went up high coming out of turn 4 and must have hit a big old chunk of dirt or something, and it like shook his car all up and he fell back and then charged his way right back to the front again after that. So that was interesting. Another stupid issue that I was having that I've never had before is my power steering is just puking like crazy now. And I don't know if it's because I was really ripping some RPM because I was spinning the tires so much or what the deal was. But after my heat race, I had to come in and tie a rag around the power steering pump because it made a giant mess of this whole area. I think I got a picture that I took of this thing before I pressure washed it. But it was actually coming up under the hood and basically straight into my face. And my helmet was getting a little bit slimy. It was really annoying. And even with that rag on there, after the feature, there was crap all over the place right here. Power steering fluid. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that. I actually have an electric power steering kit that I can install on this car, but I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to install that. I've had that sitting around for quite a long time, so I may actually research on what to do about installing that. I'm not sure if it's the RPM that's making this thing puke so much or if it's actually getting hot. Some people online insist that it's boiling the fluid, so I guess I could put a power steering cooler on there, but I really don't want to run more crap up here by the radiator, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But if anyone has any suggestions on how to make that power steering stop puking fluid, I'd love to hear it. After having missed that last race and not really finishing very well this last race, it's put us down pretty far in points, so I don't think we're going to focus too much on a championship this year. We may actually focus more on trying different things with the cars and may even take another couple races off just to get other stuff done around here. Who knows? Sometimes it's hard to convince myself to miss a race if we are able to go to one, but I am massively overwhelmed with car work to do around here. You can see Alex's car is not in the shop right now. It's in the enclosed trailer because I got to get a couple cars in here to do work. I got to put a fuel pump in the Volvo, and that's a whole ton of stuff. I got to build a wire harness, another race harness. I have to do 2 of those, so I got to get working on that. And obviously, you can see I got my 64 Galaxy in here. I'd really love to give that car some attention, but it's going to have to just get stuffed into the house garage for now because I need to focus on actually getting rid of a couple cars because, my God, do we have too many cars here. I figure I'll mention another thing I did to my car here too real quick because I just remembered. I messed up the original rear camera on the car that I rolled. The base broke off of it. So I got another camera, and the new camera that I got is actually a dual camera. So we got the camera back here for the rear footage, and I have another camera that I mounted up here. Took a hole saw out of my visor and kind of mounted it back in there. I originally mounted one of those cameras up here in the bottom of my front grille, and it made for some pretty neat footage, but knowing my propensity for hitting tractor tires, I opted to move it up higher like that, and with it set back behind the visor, you do see a bit of the visor, but it hasn't been hit with rocks or mud yet, so I think we're gonna run it like that. It makes for some interesting footage. I still do run the 360 in-car camera as well, which that caught a few interesting moments on the track. We'll probably splice some of those into the end of this video. But yeah, people were asking me if something was wrong with my car, and it was just fine. It was overpowering the track conditions in the feature. It did awesome in hot laps and did pretty good in the heat race. I didn't think I was going to do that good in the heat race because I was pretty far back in third, and then all of a sudden I just started catching up to Jesse and Alex and made my move and held on to it, even though Alex was on my tail. But yep, gotta get some work done out here. Hopefully get a little attention to this thing because I'd really love to start cruising it. It's a pretty cool car. It's my first car I ever drove right there. Part of what I have to do out here as well, kind of jumping around here, this is ADD kicking in. I need to get rid of tires. And since we've changed gear ratios and we used to stock up on a size that we used to use with the 441 transmissions, I have a boatload of those tires. So if anyone needs like 205 50s or 195 50s, I got 195 45s even if you want to run a real high RPM. I have a ton of tires, and I will cut you a great deal on these things just to get them out of the shop. So let me know if you're interested in any of those kinds of sizes. I'll probably make a chart of all the sizes that I have around to get rid of, because I really need to get rid of some of this junk. I also have a 2.2 pushrod motor. It's like a 99. I would love to see that go. It's got an auto attached to it. Got the engine harness and a computer for it there. Have no need for it. Needs to go away. And I think we have like 3 or 4 Ecotech automatic transmissions that someone could literally have for free if they wanted those. Let me know. Get this crap out of the shop. Yeah, that's my quick little race update. And I'll keep you guys up to date with what we choose to do with the race cars here. There's honestly nothing that needs to happen to my car. Oh, I guess I'll mention this too. Kelly hand painted me my number on the side of the car. This is my old car. I used to have vinyl on there. This is actually just something she whipped up for me real quick because that vinyl was destroyed, and she just took a picture of the vinyl from the car that I rolled and then just painted that by hand on there real quick before the race. I think that turned out pretty damn cool for her just whipping that together for me. Very talented girl right there. I'll see you guys in the next update video.